everyone. So right now I got the 8100 out. I just hooked on the Chisel Plow, the John Deere 714. It's been sitting in front of the shop for a good 3 months now. Ever since we were done Chisel Plowing, we kind of just parked it. Needs a little bit of work done to it. The coulters are all, well, not all of them, but the ends are wore out. I'll show you in a little bit here. But right now I'm just getting it hooked up and backing it out of the way. Getting a bit of snow right now. Pulled this in the shop. I gotta get the 8410 out and the air seeder. That's pretty much done. There's a couple little things I gotta do to it yet, but I'm by myself right now, so I kinda need two people for a couple of things I wanna do to it. Help me test a couple things. That can get moved in the cold storage building and I can start working on something else. So I got this thing inside now. It's dripping all over the floor. Doesn't need a whole lot. I want to check some of these hoses. A couple of them look pretty dry. It seems like every year we replace one or two, have them blow out on us. The main thing we're going to be focusing on are the coulter blades. Some of them aren't bad, but if I'm going to do a set, I'm going to do them all. And while I'm doing them, I'm also going to do the bearings. There's 2 bearings per set, so there's 8 bearings total. The center sections are a little bit wider, and like I said, the middle blades aren't wore too bad, but the ones on the end, they are always overlapping just a little bit. Another thing I want to check is the bearing where it kind of tandems, and that one should be okay, but I'll pop open the cap and check it anyways. But for some reason, it seems like every year I have to replace the cap on it. I don't know why or what it is with this thing, but the caps are constantly popping off on this, and moisture and dirt and stuff gets to the bearing. It's not good. I check the lights over, make sure those work. And then you can see over here how small these blades are. And I'm pretty sure this cylinder is leaking and it's starting to settle when you're running it. So if I'm going down the road or something and the lock isn't on, it starts settling down. I think it's the cylinder that's leaking. It might be the hose. I am waiting on blades. I already ordered them from our local John Deere dealer, so it'll probably be a day or two before they show up and I can go get them. We do not chisel plow anything in the spring. This is more of a fall tillage tool for us. When we hook on this, it's right after harvest, always in a big hurry. You know, winter's coming, trying to get stuff done. So we don't check it over probably the best when it's go time. Now's the time to do it while it's still snowing outside, and just check it over now. I check it over, and then when I park it, I know it's ready to go for when we want to hook onto it, probably somewhere in the middle of November. And that should hopefully minimize our issues and breakdowns by doing it now and going through it. So I got the one section apart here. I had to get the big gun out to get the nut off the end. And I was looking, and this bearing was completely junk. I didn't even notice this when it was all together, but it doesn't want to spin anymore. Usually you don't even notice until they're half broken, half falling apart, but we grease it regularly, but still, it's junk. Another thing is, I did get the bearings already, but I'm still waiting on to get new blades. These holders are pretty worn out and mangled. So maybe when I go back to get blades, I'll see if I can get some new holders. Alright, so I got the rest of the coulters off now. And I'm gonna wait to pull the rest of them apart until I get the new blades here. I'm not gonna just pull all of these apart and have a bunch of pieces laying all over the floor. I'll just do one at a time. So waiting on blades. Another thing I was looking at is that rim is white. So once upon a time, obviously got a flat tire. We have a couple spare rims to match a couple of different machines and pop that on. I'll have to go digging for the actual rim that belongs to this. Another thing I noticed, you have these bars here that go in between the coulters to keep them clean if you're working in wet conditions. They can plug up with mud. This is to help scrape the mud away and keep them clean. This one here is broken, and then there should be another one right here that is missing. So probably could make my own if I find some scrap metal. And then also probably get a handful of nuts and bolts. I jacked up the tires here, checked this spindle and bearings, and as I kind of figured, with no cap on the end there, mud and everything else getting in there, feels a little loose, like the bearings junk. So I'm gonna have to pull this one apart, but before I do that, I might as well check that one of two, even though the cap's on it. I'll look at it. Surprisingly, the bearing seems okay. Both of them do. What I am gonna do though is probably get a new seal. And I'm probably just gonna repack these, clean it up and re-grease them. But I'll get a new seal for it, and I already got a new end cap for the end here. The hubs where the tires ride on, the wheel bearings themselves, I redid a few years ago. Those still feel okay. For as tight as that was going on, they sure do like to fall off a lot on this thing. So it's the next day. I had to wait for that seal to show up, and I'm finally putting it back together. I called our dealer, and I'm still waiting on coulter blades to show up, and it could be till next week, after the weekend. So anymore, it seems like that's the way it is anymore about working on stuff. I'll tear something apart, kind of figure out what I need, everything that needs to be replaced. And I used to be able to just go and pick up the parts, where now it seems like everything has to be ordered. So this is going to be sitting in here for probably another day or two before it gets finished. So I've been working on other stuff off of camera, but got the seal here, put this back together, and then there's a couple other things I can pick on. until the coulter blades show up. All right, so it's a little bit later here. Got the sprayer in the shed now. I've been working on the other stuff the past few days, and still kind of picking on the chisel plow. I'm waiting on blades. At this point, it's gonna be next Monday by the time I get them. But the lights weren't working, and I thought it was somewhere in the back there. I was pulling stuff apart, and the bulb was bad on this one, so I got that working. I got both lights working now. But then there was a bad spot in the wire here, so I thought that's why it wasn't working also. Fixed all that, still wasn't working. So then I went to the front where it plugs in the tractor, and this plug was kind of messed up. It looks like the wires got loose and then got hot maybe. It's kind of all messed up. Hey, what you talking about? So, end of story. I spent way too much time in the back of the chisel plow trying to figure out a problem when it was up front where the plug itself was messed up. So got a new one on, it's fixed. I can put these all back together now and tie these up a little bit better, tape everything, and make it a little bit cleaner. There we go, much better. Now people will be able to tell it's a piece of farm equipment going down the road. Hey, did we fix the lights? Yeah, we did. We sure did. Alright, so we're gonna fast forward a couple weeks here now. Finally got the chisel plow done. Took way longer than expected. Ended up waiting for blades for a really long time. They ended up being on back order. These aren't John Deere blades. These are aftermarket nickels. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but yeah, I ended up waiting a pretty long time for the blades to show up, so held up the project quite a bit from the clip I took of Austin sleeping, and then from the clip of me putting the blades back on the shaft. That's probably a good 2.5 weeks there. So I actually had this sitting outside in the driveway to free up some space in the shop for a couple weeks, just because I wasn't working on it. And then yeah, finally got it done. Just pulled it outside. We can walk around it real quick and I can go through everything. So new blades done. We put a tube on for this bar here. Every once in a while you'll get rocks stuck in between the blades, and instead of having just a hammer or something trying to hammer out the rock and being on your knees in the dirt and stuff and hammering right next to your face, we found that a big bar like this works a lot better. So just pull this out and then you can beat the rock out with that. I'm pretty sure this was like a PTO shaft off of our grain cart. We just kind of cut it down. We have a bar like this on our disc also, and if you remember from my chisel plow video from last fall, I actually had to go to the disc and steal that one because I had a rock stuck. But yeah, this one, the chisel plow finally has its own bar, and now it's not going anywhere. So new blades are on. I did find the other rim and tire for this, so that looks a little bit better matching instead of that white wheel. The lights are working. We did redo one of the cylinders. There was that cylinder there, it was leaking pretty bad, so we got a seal kit for that one. And I was sick for a couple days, so Dad redid that while I was gone. But yeah, should be ready to rock and roll this fall, and hopefully won't have much trouble with it. To get this thing unhooked, this probably isn't going to be its final sitting place for the next few months, but yard's been kind of a mess. It's been rainy, snowy, on again, off again all month, so the whole yard back here is pretty muddy. So we keep it up front here on the gravel a little bit. I think that's gonna do it for this video. So as usual, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.